Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am sincerely sorry that we are almost 10 minutes late, but thank you so much for your patience and your support and your love. I am Kiesha Adamczyk-Bennett. I created the group Black Buffalonians and Allies Unite on Facebook, where we have some community panel discussions about some much needed discussed topics. I have some wonderful people here with me tonight, and we'll get into introductions. But first, I would really love to ask Linda Barr of the African American Cultural Center to tell us all about this beautiful space. Thank you so much for allowing us to use it, and share from your heart.
Ashe. Greetings. I am Sister Linda Barr. I have been a lifetime member of this agency, the African American Cultural Center. Of course, we're located at 350 Maston Avenue, Buffalo, New York, home of the Paul Robeson Theater. This agency is a 501c3 and has functioned as a gatekeeper to our community for over 5 decades. It was founded by brother Malcolm Ernai, God rest his soul, and he had a vision and a mission, and that was that through the arts we could share, enlighten, educate, and entertain people.
Yes.
That they would know the beauty of our beautiful, beautiful legacy. And I, for one, will say that the agency has kept his mission alive.
Wonderful.
And thriving. We have programs here that are geared toward our young people. They have an education directors program,
Yes.
which helps them with their homework and things of that nature. Any special projects that they're doing academically, so to speak.
Yes.
We also have a summer camp, Jumping Jambalaya.
Jumping Jambalaya.
Jumping Jambalayas. They are having fun. The program is a phenomenal program this year under the direction of Sister Regalia Riggins. She has infused education, exposure to so many different things.
Yeah.
This week they're at Stitch Buffalo learning about textiles. So she is giving the children a very wide range of involvement, and it's a form of identity. Allowing them to identify themselves and their surroundings with positive things. So we also have the Paul Robeson Theater, which has housed non-stop productions for, I believe we are going into season 56.
Wow.
And this is our agency's theater is the longest running theater of its kind in and around the area, even longer than Shades Buffalo.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So yes, right. Presently, it's under the direction of Yao Khalil Newkirk,
Yeah.
who is a very talented
Yes.
young man.
Yes.
And I have had such a pleasure working with him for the short time that he's been here. We just recently finished the production of The Raisin in the Sun.
Yes. Yes.
And you know, theater has always been a means of getting the truth out about what African American people journey is, especially in America.
That's
so I'm just proud to be a member of the Paul Robeson Theater. And we also have an African dance and drum component
Yes.
that has been in existence, that has traveled. I should say, even made it as far as to be able to go to Brooklyn to dance Africa with the late great Baba Chuck Davis.
Come on.
So yeah, the agency has a lot of good things going on. We have a woman's book club.
Wow.
It's a group of young African American women, beautiful black young geniuses, and they read literature and discuss and so forth. So I'm not going to go on and on and on. But I could go on and on about the amazing things that this space has offered to our community for such a long phenomenal people come in here and make this agency what it is. They may not all be present here now, but I will give them their props.
That's right.
That they have done a phenomenal job, and that includes Paulette Harris, Marvin Harris, Baba Issa, so many people, you know. Coming up, we have Marsha McWilson.
Yes.
She is going to be a one-woman show in concert here this Friday, 29th. Now, if you want to see some live entertainment, and you want to hear some good music, yes.
Hey, yo, Kiesha. I had to get that out because I was like really nervous. I'm like, all right, God. It's a community panel discussion. Man.
Like, you know, like how Sylvester said, them women can sing.
She
can. She's one.
Yeah,
Yes,
she
she is. So, yeah, we look forward to that. And, of course, our annual Pine Grill Jazz Reading
that's gonna be nice.
will be taking place August 7th and 14th. It's always the first 2 Sundays of August. So, having said that, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about the agency. You know, we're under the direction of Jackie Mines right now, and the agency has been transitioning a lot since our wonderful former director, Agnes Bain, has transcended to the other side of life. So I'm going to say to the community, while everybody's paying attention, that we need to continue to fortify this space, this place, to honor our predecessors or the work that they put in, and continue to support the entity with no respect to person.
Absolutely. Man, that was beautiful.
Yeah,
That was beautiful. I want to say a little something about the African American Cultural Center. Oh boy. So I called in and I wanted to start taking African dance. I danced tap dance and ballet growing up, and then I just, got older and rebellious. But I called, I'm not going to do it. I should have stayed with it. I would be 50 pounds lighter, but, I called, thank you. I called in, and Linda was just warm and friendly, assertive, confident, and she was like, well, we're rebuilding right now, so it might just be you and I. And I said, it's just gonna be you and I. And I mean, from that, I was singing with them at Kleinhands, doing a pre-show for Kenny G. She's just a lovely woman who wants to see everybody excel. So I'm very grateful for the African American Cultural Center and getting to know my heritage and who I am in this season. Thank you for always being warm and welcome and beautiful to me.
Come on, Auntie Linda.
Okay, so I have excuse my phone, but I'm going to use my phone because of our topic this evening. I decided to, read a little something that's going to pretty much set the mood. This is a poem. It's called Lost in My Mind by Riley Kincaid. My thoughts are a maze, twisting and turning, confused and dazed. I want to be happy, but cannot stop being sad. I want to be alone, but can't not stand loneliness. My thoughts are a mess. I'm numb and tired, anxious and stressed. I want to live, but cannot wait to die. I want to be loved, but cannot love myself. My thoughts are an ocean, and I'm drowning in worries. I'm stuck in my head and lost in my mind.
Actually, thank you. That is perfect for the topic of discussion tonight. And that is the effects of racism on our mental health. And with me, we have some black therapists, some big shakers and move makers, some educated folk. I only got a 2-year degree. They got something else from community college. But we're having fun.
That's where I started. Okay.
Shout out to NCCC. I'll give you a 5-day pep. No, okay. Please introduce yourselves, brag on yourselves, tell us how you got to where you are. Just talk with us, ladies. We'll start on this side. Get this.
I definitely got to throw it over to Miss Rita.
All right.
Before I introduce myself, I think she had to go first because she was awesome and she's like the leader of our team and I just gotta give her props.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So I am Sharita Anderson Bailey. I am the owner and operator of Renovated Soul Marriage and Family Therapy. I'm also a licensed and ordained elder as well as a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also a doctoral candidate. I am currently enrolled in North Central University for my doctorates in marriage and family therapy.
Come on. Come on. All proud.
I am Dr. Nicole Ferguson. I have a doctorate in health communication, and I am also finishing up a second master's in marriage and family therapy from High College. I am the author of Unstoppable Joy, The Art of Finding Hope, Healing, and Happiness, and a regular on AM Buffalo, The Wellness Doctor.
The wellness doctor.
Come on.
Yeah. And my best friend, really. And Kiesha's best friend. No. Okay.
My name is Virronica Dixon. I am completing my master's in marriage and family therapy, and I'm so excited. And I have the pleasure and the honor to be able to work with these amazing women. And Miss Rita, being one of my amazing mentors, supervisors, all of that, all in one, all in one. I am a wife. I have 3 children. I am the author of the book Single Ladies Meet Your Married Selves. I also have a community of women, and it's really just to enforce who you are as an individual before you can be anything to anyone else. So that is a little tidbit.
That is awesome.
Love that.
Thank you. Single ladies, meet your married self, unstoppable joy. Listen.
Go get the books.
Wow.
Come on.
Yeah. Mermaid energy.
My name is Mariah. I will be completing my master's in marriage and family therapy from Mariah College as well. I don't have all of the accolades that they have, but I'm up and coming.
That's
Come
right.
on.
That's right. That's right.
I have a background in criminal justice and foster care, and I have been in the mental health field for over 7 years. So, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this.
Incredible. I mean, the black girl magic on the stage is enough to make Puff the Magic Dragon appear. It's really something. My husband's in the audience. We got that. The mic picked it up. That's good. Yeah. So, boom. Here we go with the effects of racism on our mental health. I spoke with minister this morning who had to just kind of help me out, give me a free counseling session.
She looked us all.
Yeah.
She did free counseling on a daily.
On the regular.
Under 30 minutes. Right. We're getting charged after, yeah. Yeah. So when I brought up that topic and brought it to you,
It just
what sparked? What's the first spark? Let's spark it off there.
Cool.
In your head.
So we were talking earlier today about racism being systemic. Right? You can't talk about racism as if it happens in a bubble. It doesn't. And so from where I sit, we can take it obviously from the professional standpoint of what we have to struggle with as Black and brown professionals in this field, right, of mental health, and then we could take it right on to clients and how they experience systemic racism in their treatment, which was it just blows my mind that those things occur when we're a service or a my standpoint, you can't treat an individual in mental health without treating the whole person.
That's right.
Right? And so like a lot of what we do as professionals is we look at the whole person. What I mean by that is everything from worldview to what they eat for dinner. All of it matters. All of it matters, and you have to use all of it when you're trying to heal a person.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's kind of where we go. Right? So I would like to talk about experiences.
Absolutely. Talk about whatever comes to your heart.
All right. So these ladies actually work with me on a day-to-day basis outside of my private practice. So we have had some pretty interesting experiences as clinicians of color. Yes. They get to see me in my element and be confident with what I know. Right, even with the day-to-day challenges, because people think because I'm brown and because I'm female, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Well, that's true.
Right? Yeah. Like that's what happens. Unfortunately, that is what happens.
Right.
I am just now learning to stand 10 toes down.
Wow.
Right? Like I feel like as soon as I got my license, I was a light bulb flipped off. I said, "Oh, you can't take it from me."
I work for this.
You can't take it from me.
Right.
But it also strengthened my voice. Not that I was ever really quiet.
Right.
But it strengthened my voice to be more of an advocate, first self-advocate and then others advocate. Right? And that's what we do in this field.
Yes.
So let's talk about experience.
Let's
How
talk
about
about
that?
Come on, experience.
Now, I am not going to name where I work outside of Renovated Soul, so you won't hear any of that. But I really want to talk about what it's like to be a black and brown professional, right? So, let's talk. Ms. Value,
Alright.
you itching to say something.
Ready.
I'm ready.
So it's interesting at the location, the location in which we work. The one thing I loved is that when we initially started, I had never been amongst professional black women. All of us being professional black and black therapists. The one thing that I feel like we had to work for, though, is to show our professionalism. Now, a lot of times we always hear oftentimes that you have to work twice as hard to be able to accomplish the same goals as your counterparts. And that was no different. We kind of got looked at with skepticism. And in all fairness, we wanted to make sure, like, we knew what we were talking about and we trained well, but it made a difference to have leadership who knew and trained well and also knew the nuances in a professional Eurocentric environment. And so confidence was mandatory. And understanding that regardless of how somebody may perceive us, we know what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
We are the trained professionals when we enter the room. So to be confident in that and to know that took some time. Took some long time to be valued as that. And sometimes, and that's a big part there. Sometimes we're not valued. We're not valued. With the occurrence that, of course, the traumatic, very traumatic, horrific, and unfortunately not new occurrence that the Buffalo shooting.
That's right.
We had, once again, compound trauma.
Yes, we did.
Dr. Joy Leary, she calls it post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Yes.
And we have consistently battled with oppression and have consistently fought to be seen. And in the element of that, where people were providing services, but weren't served. So the one thing that I have learned in all of this is that I want to be not just valuable, but I want the person, whoever I'm working with, to know their value.
That's right.
Because that's the problem when you're coming into therapy, and it's not saying that everybody that doesn't look like you can't be receptive.
That's right.
It doesn't have some sort of cultural sensitivity. Still, there's an aspect that they will never understand because they don't have to live in this skin. And so when I approaching, especially clientele that look like me, and they don't have to necessarily be African American, but just have brown skin. Because regardless, brown skin, we we all kind of fall in the same boat many times.
Yeah.
But to show that, hey, I'm here to advance you, to help remove and help you work through the trauma that has been long lasting, that is 400 years plus
Yeah.
late.
Yeah.
But now it's one of those, like, I have to earn the trust of people who look like me, because so many times people who have been in this field have used it unwisely and used it to our detriment.
Yes. Yes. You're absolutely right. One of the things that I can say, and you guys hear me say it often, when we're in the room, we represent not only who we are as professionals, but we represent our community.
That's true.
We have to show up for the people that we serve, right? It's something that we're accountable for what we do in the room. And that's important to me. What I teach to all of you all the time, it's like, look, we're helping undo stigma, right? Whether it's religious, because I come from the church, but most of you do too.
Okay.
Whether it's religious, because sometimes it's religious trauma. I'm not gonna go there. But sometimes there's religious trauma. And even what we were talking about earlier with the mindset of, I need to pray about this, right? You need to be able to, we talked about diagnosis.
Yes.
You need to be able to bring in the room all of who you are.
All of who you are.
Right? That's how we are serving. We bring all of who we are in the room. But we gotta remember that our clients are also doing the same, right? And part of that service when we talk about diagnostics is there's a disservice that happened over the course of time in our field because it was heavily white male dominated.
Okay.
Right? So there's a perspective there that's like, okay, well, if you do anything that's outside of predominantly white culture or European culture, you're wrong.
Right.
Something is wrong with you. Right? And so now you have clients who are afraid to say, I talk to God and he talks back.
Yeah.
Right? Because that falls under the category of a diagnosis. Correct? So like, but we didn't do that. That diagnosis wasn't created by us. Right? And so I look at the research where I'm like, okay, we also have to talk about how we're treating people that look like us.
All right.
Right? What are we doing that gives them a voice? Right? Because that, y'all know me, I'm all about empowering people to use their voice. So what are we doing to allow them to have a voice and not demonize them or use a descriptive in a diagnosis that bars them from actually using that voice? Right? All systemic racism. If you think about it, because we didn't design this system, it wasn't for us. It's not for our benefit at all. Right? And it follows us, not just in mental health, but in society, period. And we're fighting against that. That's the thing that I'm going hard in the paint, if you will, for, right? Because I'm looking at this as a professional that says, hey, it's my responsibility to try to undo some of this. Right? I know I can't change the world. I understand that I'm only one person, but I'm one person that has personal power. Right? And so everybody that I come across, I want them to have that personal power too. I want them to experience what it's like to really be healed, right? To really be whole, and to really be seen.
That part.
To be seen. Yeah, can we expound on on us being seen?
So we talk about self-esteem, right?
Yes.
Right, that's a part of what we do as mental health clinicians. Like we try to empower people and help them to feel better about who they are and how they identify.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? But if part of how you identify will make you have a diagnosis, then you're less likely to show up in the room that way. So now our job as BIPOC professionals is to say, no, bring that in the room too. Because how does that help you heal? Right?
Yes.
How does that help you self-identify?
Okay.
Right? And then where's the power? How does that empower you? Right? Because I want you healed and whole.
And whole.
And whole.
Healed and whole.
Healed and whole. So a part of showing up and part of really getting to that place of healing from people that look like you is the understanding. Right? How can I better understand you? I can't serve you until I understand you. I have to understand you first. And I have to understand all of you. So if religion has a component that helps you make meaning to something you're going through, then we have to be free to go through.
That's right.
Right? I have to be culturally sensitive. We talked about
Yes.
this earlier. I have to be culturally sensitive, not just culturally confident. Cultural competence says, I understand we're different.
Right.
I acknowledge that. Cultural sensitivity says, I not only see that and understand it, but I want to know how we can use that. Right? How do we get you to heal it within what makes you you? Right? That's what we do. Cultural sensitivity says, I'm not going to ignore the fact that you believe in God. I'm not going to ignore the fact that you pray. We talked about prayer earlier.
Yes.
You know, in other cultures, they will call it meditation, right? But even Jesus meditated. That's what he was doing on the pinnacle, right? Right. And so we can incorporate that. I don't want to demonize people for whatever they believe. And it's not just Christianity, trust me, there's other religions that come in and go too, from black and brown.
That's right.
And so we don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but I want you to feel visible. Right? So often in this world, society, we are invisible.
That's true.
We are invisible. That's why the Black Therapist Coalition exists. It wouldn't have to exist if we existed everywhere.
Ha. Okay.
There was that. We wouldn't have to. And like, oh, you know, I'm not getting too political, but you know, Black Lives Matter, Black Therapists Matter, Black this, Black that matters. But we wouldn't have to shout so loud if we were visible. If you saw all of us for who we really are.
For who we really are.
And I can appreciate treating the whole person and wanting to give them a sense of security that it's okay to bring their whole person to you, because systemically we have to live fractionally.
Yes,
Like depending on where we are
that's that cold
and
switch.
what we're doing, right?
Absolutely.
We have to adjust who we are, or
Shrink
maybe
back.
leave a little bit over there because of fear of how we are going to be perceived.
Perceived. Fear of how we're going to be perceived.
The greatest benefit we could ever do for anybody is to be ourselves.
Oh my God.
That's it. And ourselves is
Yo.
always permissible. We're always allowed to be ourselves.
I think I just got healed.
Yes, because society does that. It makes you have to, like you said, work twice as hard to get half the recognition.
Absolutely.
Not equal, half
Half.
the recognition.
Maybe more.
That is why I do so much with empowerment, empowering clients, because I've seen it. I've seen, you know, you would think with a doctor, I've had my doctor for 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm still an adjunct professor because how many Black professors do you see, especially in predominantly white institutions? So, you know, and I've been in spaces where I've experienced racism. I've had my doctor's title taken off of work presentations because other people didn't feel comfortable. Like I've had people try to sabotage my work because they didn't want me to take their job. It was, and this is like in the professional, like major places.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I talk about empowerment with clients, it's because I want people to know there may be a system that is against you, but you have people who are supportive, and you know, to see people feel validated, and that also comes with culture of humility too, because there are so many people both inside and outside of the therapy room who don't want to touch racism.
Okay.
They don't want to go there with clients, and I've had clients who sit there and say, you know what, I think this happened, and it seems like racism at work, and we'll go there. But there's also times where they've done that with other people, and they're like, are you sure it's racism? Like, are you sure? Like,
They
this
minimize.
yeah, and they're like, you know, I want them to know that their feelings are valid. You know, and that we all are like, you know, this whole struggle we have with navigating in right spaces. Yes, that takes a toll on your mental
It
health.
takes a toll on our
Yes.
mental health.
It does.
Right. So I think a lot of people need to know it's not you. It's a system that
It's a
was
system.
designed
It's a
for
system.
you.
Absolutely.
I want to piggyback off of what you said. You said you wanted the kids to show up as their whole person.
Yes.
And us to show up as their whole person.
Yes.
So as far as like treatment, like the work that we do, we're really digging into the core
Yes.
of what's going on at home. Like,
Yes.
as far as like, you know, do you have food to eat?
Mhm.
Who else is
Yeah.
at home? Like we're digging down to the very nitty gritty of things. And if they don't have those type of things, we're linking them to services.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
said, I wanna set the table for these kids, just in case somebody.
She said, set your intentions for the day.
That's
So
the
wow.
one. That's the one.
So many people don't learn that.
That's
And,
it.
you know,
We
we
didn't
have
learn it
adults
growing
who
up.
are still learning that and
Right.
teach them when they're young. You know, we can have a new generation of, kids who normalize therapy, new
Yes.
generation of kids who can
ma'am.
identify their feelings and have healthier coping skills.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
resistant to violence and other means of expressing themselves because
Yes.
people aren't hearing them.
Yes.
You know, you need that.
I think the key point is for them to be heard.
Yes.
Because that's a big thing.
Mhm.
Half of them are not being heard.
Correct.
We-
More than
a lot of
half.
us are not being heard.
Yes, yeah.
You know, because like you said, we're in a system that was never designed for us.
Absolutely.
Never was designed for us. And honestly, more things keep occurring to make it that even when we hit that pinnacle, that it's like, okay, we've met the status quo. So therefore, we should be able to receive what you said we are supposed to receive. Then the rules change.
Yeah.
And so it's like the whole dynamic
Yes,
of what racism is. It's not even just about having a prejudice, but it's about having the power.
Yeah.
We don't hold the power.
Ah.
So, I mean, we can be prejudiced against anybody.
Right.
But the reality is, it's not gonna do anything. I could say to somebody like, you know what, I don't like you. I can't stand you, I can't stand you as a white person, but you know what, that's not gonna stop you from being accepted to school.
Yes.
That's not gonna stop you from being accepted as a doctor or head of whatever management firm that you're applying for.
With less credentials. Because
It's not
privilege
gonna stop,
exists.
because it's privilege.
Because privilege exists.
And that's the thing, we lack the privilege.
Mhm.
So our disdain for whatever is not gonna change, but if they have a disdain for us, now that changes
Where we
the
go.
quality, and that
Quality
changes
of
the
life.
quality of life.
Absolutely.
Quality of possibility.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's why I love what Mariah said, in fact, of showing these kids, who are you? Who
Yeah.
are you? Because if you know who you are, you can validate yourself from infancy all the way up, then when, no matter what transgressions you may face, you will always be able to identify who you are, even aside from a system that was not designed for you.
Exactly.
And it's phenomenal what you ladies do, because not only do you give them a sense of who they are, you give them a sense of what you're going through, and that what you're going through isn't, you said it isn't your fault. It is a direct result of the residual systemic society that we have to live in, and what it imposes on any individual as a human being.
Yeah.
And I want us to be able to identify to the audience, because some of us don't even know what the trauma is. You understand? Like you said, post-traumatic slavery.
Yeah, slave disorder. Yeah.
Some people do not understand that, because we have to repeatedly relive these lynchings, modern day lynchings.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it's not a noose and a rope,
Right.
but it's a
Bullets.
brutality that was
Yeah.
thoroughly unnecessary.
Yeah.
That was a fatality.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to, every time we hear it on the news, or see a picture of George Floyd's face, or, you know, these are the traumas that we have to keep reliving.
Yeah.
You know, and not only that, just the difficulties we have as family units.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
all said you were marriage, and we need to talk about that stuff, because, again, we want our community to get a jump on.
Yes.
This is what is happening to you. You know, it's not something that you're doing to society.
Right.
This is what society has done to us as a people. And no, we're not crybabies about it,
Right.
but we're tired of crying.
Right. I love that.
Right.
I love that.
You know, we're tired of crying because we are not being seen,
Yeah.
heard,
Right.
respected,
Right.
valued, and so on.
Yes.
You're right. You're so right.
You know, it's interesting, I was just listening to something, her name is Carol Anderson, and she came up with she coined the statement, white rage. And the thing that they fear the most from Black people as a whole is their intelligence, is their resilience, and is the thought that, hey, I'm not going going to take the status quo and I matter.
All right.
Hearing that and seeing that, that provokes fear. Because when you think about it, it's like, man, this has been years and years and years and years and years. This is something that's consistently been ingrained in generation after generation. And then there comes a guilt. And then there comes a, oh shoot, my granddaughter is going to find out that I, as her grandfather, mistreated black women. I mistreated black men, but I don't want you to know that. Which is why there's a big thing right now with the critical race theory. And it's more so trying to incorporate the fact that African Americans, we matter, and all the things in the systemic racism that's been a part of us, and really taking an eye and looking at it from a government perspective.
Yes.
And that's fearful. So there are many different states who have outlawed it. That have outlawed the 1619, which is a teaching, really just to teach all the accomplishments of African Americans within the United States history. But the fear is, if my kids know this, then I have to accept this. And the idea is that I don't want to accept it. But with white rage, it's not an outward. Black people, we have to, wow, we have to make ourselves known, right? Whereas they don't. It's more of a passive aggressive approach.
That's true.
That, hey, I'm not going to,
Intimidation.
no problem, I'm not going to, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this law here that says that you can't do this.
Wow.
Okay, the critical race theory, okay, yeah, I don't want everybody Trump said it. Like, yeah, I don't want us to feel like, you know, we are a racist nation. Oh, really?
You might feel it, but you
don't
don't
try.
And it's obvious.
And so the moment that we stand up and say, hey, we matter, hey, our voices matter, hey, you know, we just want to be seen. We just want to be seen. We wouldn't have to have all this Black Lives Matter if we were seen. We would have to have, like you said, the Black Coalition if we were seen. But the reality is that every single time we try to voice and try to step up, there's so many things that are knocking us down. And because we were raised in this society, we've learned how to fit into the society.
Yes.
So for instance, some people might watch this and say, oh, wow, you're really well spoken.
Right.
As though that's
Right.
As though that's the criteria.
Yeah.
You know, like as though that's a criteria that, hey, it's abnormal for an African American woman to be well spoken.
Yes.
Because all they should know is Ebonics.
Right.
But we can know both. And like you said, that code switch,
code
we can
switch,
switch both.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
go
switch it
both ways. But the reality is that was identified as like, that's a white trend.
Right.
You're talking white.
Right.
The whole idea, I remember I spoke to this one lady, and I mean, I wasn't, at first I was like, how dare you? And she said, sweetheart, you have been ingrained in the Eurocentric thoughts. And I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, no, I'm not, like, I am black, I am, what do you mean? And she was like, sweetheart, she was like, what does it mean by you don't look professional? I was like, you know, like your hair is kept, and you know, like you have a nice suit jacket or anything on. She was like, well, who created that standard? It wasn't anybody looking at. She was like, straight hair over kinky hair. Why is that the standard? Because it wasn't created for you. It was created for you to assimilate into their thoughts.
Right.
Into their
Because it's comfortable for them.
And it's a whole
You
bunch
make them uncomfortable.
and that's the thing.
Yes.
Because of the fact that we make them uncomfortable, there's a fear there.
Yeah.
Dr. Joy said, she said, there's a fear there. Black people know that white people are afraid.
Yeah.
The same way that white people know that black people, we know
Yeah.
that they are afraid.
Yeah.
But we are living in a system where we could know it. We still need to tiptoe. Like it's still, some things still don't change. There was a teacher, she wanted to work in one of the southern, in Atlanta, and she couldn't work there. They asked her, hey, do you know what CRT was? And she was thinking from a teacher's perspective, oh, it's culturally responsive teaching, which that does stand for that too. But they were afraid that she was going to teach CRT. So they went to the board, and I mean, this is now, like this is this year. This is not like last year, this is not 2 years, this is this year. This woman was driven out of that county. Didn't even start, but out of the fear, that fear that, hey, I gotta face myself because it's uncomfortable to make yourself comfortable and uncomfortable.
It's that, and it's
also what happens when we face our true selves.
All right.
Because you have been teaching us all about how we've been oppressed, how we can't get ahead, and now all of a sudden we're learning, there's a lot of black inventors out there. There's a lot of black scientists out there. There's like you start to, that brings to your awareness, oh yes, we are really powerful. And that is identity. And that, once you get that identity, you know, it kind of, it goes along with the psyche. It's mental health. Like, what do we do when we empower people? There's a shift. There has to be a change. There has to be a change in our community as well. So what happens when our community is empowered? And that's pretty much the scary part behind teaching the truth, because that's pretty much what it is. It's what really happened. Let's not whitewash it so that everybody feels comfortable, so that we feel like
that's it right there. And that's where we get our identity from. See, the thing is, when we came here, they stripped us from our identity. Okay. They've been trying to do that ever since. Don't let them know who they are. Don't let them ever get a sense of self-awareness. Ever. And it's seen in our medical field, it's seen in the mental health field. Ever let them figure out that they don't actually need these drugs. We can go back to some herbal and traditional medicines.
Yes, we can.
Right? We can hand people skills or teach people skills and techniques and give them tools to manage their mind instead of doping them out. Right. You see? We had this whole war on drugs. I promise I'm not going to let go. But we had this whole war on drugs, right? That was meant to systemically place our black men into prisons.
Okay.
Right? That's what it was for. Like, I'm not sugarcoating nothing. That's what it was for, right? And then decades later, we then say, never mind. By the way, we're going to have the weed and we're going to give you the card and none of them got out of prison.
Right, sure.
They're still there. Now you're talking about mental health. Why are we still here?
And that's another, the research shows that people are more resilient when they're connected to their identity.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
So you see people who survive, even Holocaust survivors, they have built resiliency among generations because they feel like they're connected to something in the past and they're connected to something in the future. What happens when you strip people of their identity where we don't know where we came from? I mean, what parts of Africa or the Middle East? I mean, I don't know. So now I have no past to connect to. Now you're trying to strip us of our future because you're taking people away through different means of violence. You're trying to scare people into not procreating because what am I putting my kid into a world that's full of racism that strips you away from the future? So when you have no identity to latch on to, what does that say about mental health, resiliency, the ability to deal with stress?
Along with the fact that, like when you were saying, oh, you're very well spoken, right?
Yeah, that touched your
That's because they don't want to accept or respect that we had our own language, and we still have our own language inside of the language that we are accustomed to speaking, right? And with the identity, stop comparing me to Sally because we are from two different.
We're not the same as they say.
And that is a form. It's like a lie.
Yeah.
Everything that we live with an understanding of is a lie, especially to our children. Okay, because like you said, no, they don't want nobody to find out about this, that, and this, and that.
Right.
Those little addicts up in top of that. Where the slave quarters used to be.
Right.
And some of these
Or
houses
the
around the city of Buffalo.
Yeah.
Right.
The sellers. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. But see, that's the thing. We deal with children. We deal with children all the time. I don't just work with children, and neither do these ladies. But we deal with children. That is our future.
That's our future.
So they may never come across another black therapist in Buffalo, New York. And that's a shame. Let's be real. That's a shame. As a licensed professional, and I just had this conversation not too long ago, I sat in our community at one of the locations where free services were being provided. And I had this conversation. I said,
do you have a license? I was talking to another, what I thought was another clinician, let me say it that way, who I thought was another clinician. And they said, no. I said, I'm sorry, we signed up as clinicians, right? And he said, oh yeah, no, but the agency I work for, they don't care if you have a license or not. And I was like, you know why they don't care? Because y'all know me.
That's all right. Let me tell you why.
You know why they don't care if you have a license? Because if you have a license, you don't need them. Because the system, again, is not designed for you. So they would rather pay you and promote you without the credentials you need, so you never have to not need them. And then again, you will not serve your community because they ain't about your community.
Wow.
They're about numbers and quotas.
That's right.
Just saying.
That's
Okay,
right.
I'm done.
No, hey.
I felt that anger coming up. I'm done.
But that's why it matters so much to be able to say that, hey, I have my own, that I am licensed, that I can actually go back and do what I can do.
Yes, ma'am.
Like I had a physician assistant, I loved her. And she left the practice because she wanted to go back to the community. She said, because I want to be able to serve.
Yes,
And
ma'am. Y'all hear me say that all
now
the time.
I understand that, especially after being in the field and serving. And, I mean, it is so, I love the fact of serving diverse people. I really do. The one thing that gives me gratification though is when I'm serving people who ordinarily would not be served.
That's that component right there.
Would not be served and feel comfortable with revealing themselves to you.
Yes, ma'am.
That right there is a gift. That's a gift. I have a shirt and I love it. And it says Black Therapist, that I help other people heal while dealing with my own pain.
Yes.
Because it doesn't stop. You know, like especially during, like after, it does not stop. When I'm
I got the trap therapy shirt.
Okay.
Service to my hood.
It really is amazing though, because it's like, here I am, I'm serving you at the same time, I'm serving me at the same time. It's something that you won't come across often, and especially in this field, and I understand now why people only seek us. Like, people who haven't been in therapy will come across and be like, you know, okay, so do you work outside of here? I do, but I can't at this moment. The list is full. I do apologize. But because it's such an extravagant need that, hey, man, I could be who I am around you. That, hey, if I say this, you're not going to instantly be like, oh, girl.
Break me off.
That's a diagnosis.
You know what I'm saying? But
Dear God, if I get one more diagnosis.
It changes the narrative from us being a hierarchy, from it being us versus them, to us walking with them.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Because then you're free to heal for real. You walking with somebody through your healing. They're not looking at you saying you need to heal. They're saying, come on, let's go together. That's a part of this. That's a part of what we do.
I can feel
we
that.
say this all the time. That's a part of what we do. I don't want you to just show up in the room as a Black person. We see that already. What do you bring to the table? What do you right? What do you bring to the table, to this moment? You know, I've sat with many over the years, and people seek me out, and I still find it funny and awkward, because they do, and for all different reasons. I've had people seek me out because I'm Black. I've had people seek me out because I have locks. I've had people seek me out because I'm locks. Because I have locks. I'm not kidding. Right? People, it's a selling point. They're like, how Black are you? I'm Black. But whatever reason they I was talking to the therapist today about this actually. Whatever reason they seek me out, they find comfort here, right? Because they don't have to pretend. They can take all that off and just
Take it off.
My favorite thing to happen in any session is when I can see someone either pull off their wig or comb their beard, or because that's how I know you're really comfortable. Right? You don't care that I
Drop
can
the
see all
food out of your mouth.
Right, you
Work,
good.
it's fine.
Right, you good. I've had clients lay down just, okay, well, great. You comfortable. Let's talk. Let's talk, because I see you. Right? And that's my most powerful sentence to say in a therapy room. I see you.
I see you.
If no one else sees you, I see you. Because that's healing. Right? I see you haven't been seen all day, all year, all month, all week. Even by people that look like you.
Oh, yeah.
But I see you. And you can be free here. You can say what you need. You can unpack. You can rest here. It's a safe space.
I would like to ask, that is so good. I would like to ask all of you, what would you tell our allies who are watching or will be watching? Because they joined the group wanting to get a better understanding, wanting to show their support, wanting to show that they're here with us and they're not in agreement with systemic racism and they want to learn. What would you tell them? What message would you give them tonight concerning being sensitive towards the fact that racism affects our mental health all day, every day?
Mine is very plain and clear and straight to the point. It's just show up and be comfortable with having those uncomfortable conversations. That's where it starts for me.
Thank you.
For me, it would be listen.
Forgive me.
Truly,
If you could just speak a little louder. The air came out. Sorry, I want to hear if this is good. I want to hear it.
You know, I gotta project my voice. But my thing would just be to listen, to really listen, and to truly socialize.
Oh, socialize.
Don't say that, hey, I have a black friend.
Please don't say that.
That one black friend does not represent
The
a
whole
whole culture
Okay.
of black people.
Yeah.
Like, truly get involved. Get involved. Be around.
Come to the cookout.
Okay, you'll be invited.
Don't worry about that. Racist.
Keep the M&Ms out of the pudding.
Bring paperware that we always needed. Both plates.
Yeah, that's
Good to go. But truly, to listen, to really listen and be around.
Really listen and be around. That's beautiful.
That's good.
I had to rag on my sister. I'm adopted. My sister is Caucasian, and she messed around. I'm going to say your name. But she messed around and she put, I think it was like peanuts in the banana pudding. I'm done.
Baby, listen. All right, I ain't gonna know.
And she's down too. Like, I don't know. It was a.
She was experimenting.
It was
You know, we just gonna let us
and
know.
we're gonna forgive you, and we'll see.
I would say, to go along with what Virronica and Mariah have said, don't just listen. Don't feel like you have to defend because you don't.
You don't have to defend.
Our experience is our experience. What we need you to do is acknowledge that that's our experience in the moment. Don't dismiss it. Don't whitewash it. Don't minimize it. Don't say, well, you know, I've never done that because we didn't ask. We didn't ask. We're just sharing our experience. Validate our experience. Let us know that you can sit in it with us no matter how uncomfortable it is.
I think just being authentic, what Rita said, I can't really add much to that.
Use your voice. Use your voice.
Just being authentic, coming as you are, but also knowing that there is much to learn. Not shying away from that because there's much to learn. And also just, you know, acknowledging what we're going through, and even just acknowledging that you don't understand is a good thought. Because some people will say, you know, like, well, I didn't want to say anything because I can't imagine having to go through that. And it's like, I would rather you say, I can't imagine you having to go through that. What can I do, or how can I be here for you? Because in a space where it's hard to trust people, it's hard to be acknowledged, it's hard to be validated, it's good to have allies and support that are saying, okay, I'm here and I see you. It's better than silence or not saying anything at all. Rather know that you're sitting in it with us.
Can I say one more thing to that? To our allies, we want you to have these conversations too. Don't shy away from this topic. Have this conversation over dinner at your house.
Oh, that part. That part. Don't just come around us and act like
Tell your cousins,
The babies will tell on you.
The babies
will
The babies will tell on you. about whether or not you're actually having these conversations, and whether or not you're actually genuine.
Yeah, right.
Because if you know, your baby Brian has no idea
Right.
what you're talking about,
Right.
you're not having these conversations, and therefore you're repeating
Right.
the same cycle.
And you can't change community until you change individuals.
Huh. Yeah.
So we've learned, and most of us in the Black culture, we've learned to have real good conversations over meals.
That's right.
Have the conversation. That's all I'm saying.
And then I wanted to add, that is what I was going to say, that, you know, when you're an ally to something, you're there to assist, to help, to support, and things of that nature. And I want to say, expect a shift in mindset.
Yes.
Okay, because of your support, assistance, your ears, but because of people like the people sitting right here on this platform who love who we are, who work to better who we are, to better our experience. For us, it's about our children, our future.
The future.
So expect a mind shift, because we are resilient and we are not going to hold back giving them the fruits that we need to give them to push forward. We won't even be here, and the world is going to be different.
Yeah.
Expect that shift.
Yeah. A shame.
Did anyone want to add anything?
Come on, Auntie, she said what she said.
There's so many things I wanted to ask. That was so good. We talked a little bit. You said the words coping skills, and I'd like to kind of dive into that, because we have on every corner in the inner city a liquor store and a church. And a church. The trap house. You know. Let's talk about the coping. Let's invite the audience to begin to think. First of all, put away the shame of utilizing marijuana and alcohol. There's a reason why we're utilizing these things, and tell us. Actually, can you tell us the reason why these substances are utilized for coping?
It numbs.
Yes, it does.
It numbs.
Yes.
You ain't gotta feel it if you
Don't have to
drink
feel
high.
it.
That's right.
Don't have to feel
You
it.
numb right on out.
That's right.
Just tap out, go to sleep, wake
On
up
the
tomorrow.
moon.
The problem's still gonna be there. I want to point that out. The problem is still going to be there when you're done with the vices.
Yes.
You want coping skills that are going to be anchors for you.
Yeah.
They're not cures. They just help you get grounded enough to face what's happening and to deal with what's happening. But they're not cures. We don't cure people. I like to be honest and upfront. That's not what therapy is. But we can provide you with tools. And here's the thing. Black people, you said we're resilient, right?
Yes.
It's because we've learned how to adapt to our surroundings.
Yes.
That is a coping skill.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So when you talk about the maladaptive coping skills, that's a college word. It just means bad coping skills. But I like to throw that out there. I actually have an education, you know what I'm saying? But when you talk about the maladaptive coping skill, such as substance and alcohol use, right? That's the number. And I'm gonna throw in there even the prescribed medications.
Hello.
As you can see, I'm really not an advocate for the prescription
And you know what?
medication.
I agree with you.
But I'm gonna say this, so there's two sides to that coin, okay? So it's not that I don't believe you should ever take medication. I'm not on that side, y'all, okay? But what I am saying is, I would rather you have skills
Yes.
than to be masking symptoms.
That's right.
Because it's a symptom.
Of a root cause. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, it is.
That's right.
So we address the symptom. That's how you get to cope. That's how you get to heal. Because we're addressing the symptom. We're not masking it. We're not telling you sweep that under the rug and keep it pushing, sis. We're not telling you that. We're telling you, no, pull that back. Pick that up. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
And it's a safe enough space that what you show me, I'm not afraid of.
I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid of it.
Thank you.
Right.
That's okay, let's talk about this.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about why every night you have to have a whole bottle of wine.
Okay.
Let's talk about this.
Mhm.
And being a safe place to be able to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because when you realize that a lot of times I've recognized with my clients, that, hey, you already have these coping skills, but my job is to point them out to you. That this has been working for you. This part has been working for you. So let's keep this part.
Yeah.
Like, you did good here. You did good here.
Recognize
We
it.
are very much so resilient.
Absolutely.
Very much so
We really
resilient. And it's amazing because when you think about it, it's like, man, these coping skills, you have the liquor store, you have God, but here's the thing, or chef and not God, but the church.
Right.
There's a
Very big
difference. There's a
Very
difference,
big
ma'am.
We specify what I mean, okay? Because you can have a church, but it could be just as numbing as the liquor that you're taking.
Yes,
It
it
could be
was.
just as numbing as the marijuana
Yes,
that
it
you're
was.
taking.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's used incorrectly.
Used
You're
incorrectly.
going and you're just going, okay, I'm here every day, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But what you're doing, you're running away from it. You're running away from what it is. And you're saying, well, I'm doing this, see what I'm doing. But sweetheart, but why? But what's your why? That's my favorite thing to ask a client. What's your why? Like, if you're doing this, okay, give me your why. What's that?
What's behind it?
Correct. And if it's the wrong, if you have the wrong motivation,
Yeah.
you're gonna hit the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It's gonna, you're just not gonna make where you wanna go.
Yeah.
So it really matters.
You don't learn those coping skills either, so it's always like, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know
Once
what
you
you don't
know, you can't unknow.
Right.
So,
You can learn it,
you can unknow it.
but you can't unknow it.
Wow.
That's
Right, and we can change. We can change the way we think, the way we behave,
We're allowed to
and
change.
the way we act.
Yes.
But in order for us to do that, we have to be able to identify, like, what about the way I think?
Yes, yes, yes.
What is it about the way I'm acting or
Yes.
behaving
Yes.
that's causing me
Yes.
a mess of my life?
A mess is my life.
And
Wow.
how do I go about fixing it? And it's like you guys give a gift of healing.
Yeah, you do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
that's deep.
everybody needs it.
Yeah, we need
You know,
it.
like
And we still do.
a smile can take away so much
Come on.
Yeah.
negativity and hurt. You know, a kind word or
Yes.
a warm personality. That is like, you know, principal spiritual ways of giving a gift of healing.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we can look at why we need to medicate is because what we thinking, feeling, and doing is not making our life, and that's an inside job.
Yes, ma'am.
And the average person does not or either will not go inside
To do the work.
and do the work
Yes, ma'am.
because they don't know how.
Right, because we don't have the tools. We talk about the belief system. I'm big on schema, so that's the
Okay.
belief behind why we do, right?
Okay.
The beliefs behind why we do it. I love this work because I like going in people's brains. So
Yes, me too.
I want to know why it is that you sleep with these people, right? You have multiple partners and you don't care what they do. You don't care. They come in and out. They don't have to respect you. They don't have to value you. I'm just using this as an example. They don't have to value you, and it's serving a purpose for you, but you don't like it. You don't like it, right? You don't like the outcome because they still leave, right? It's not working for you, but you continue to do it because that's all you know. That's all you know. Same thing with church. Now let me
Come on and
flip
talk
it.
about it.
I told you, I'm gonna flip it. You go into the church house, you hear the preacher, you jump and shout, you scream, you speak in tongues, and then you leave and you're depressed.
Yes.
Because it didn't work.
Been there for years.
Correct.
Yes.
But we don't talk about that in church.
Oh, yeah.
Now I do, but
What church you go to?
listen, I go to top where great people go.
Oh, yeah, Lord.
Not going on
Happy on the parade.
Yes, that's our church.
I mean,
Yes. I had a great time at your church.
It is not
but
the
there's,
church.
it is.
It is.
But let me tell you, I'm a PK, right? So I'm 4th generation preacher, right? That's a lot of trauma. That's a lot of trauma because I was taught how to do church, but not life.
Ooh.
That's right there.
How to do church, but not life.
How to do church, but not life.
Isn't that something?
So I didn't learn healing from sitting on a pew where I should have learned how God is gracious, how God is merciful, how God heals, how, like, right, those benefits of being, because that was a source of trauma, right, where it should have been a house of healing is a source of trauma.
Yeah.
Now, I want to outside of that, right? And I can listen to people. Now, if you're in my therapy room, I don't wear my collar. I'm just going to
make this clear.
Take that how you want.
I'll take it.
Just
But-
in case anyone has any confessions.
I'm just saying. Just saying. But in that moment, I'm transparent, right? So I'm sharing, listen, I know what the church taught you. I know they taught you to jump and shout and didn't fix not a damn problem. They didn't tell you how to do nothing but jump and shout. Now let me come in. Let me tell you on the other side of this, you're going to have to do the work, sis.
Yes,
Come on.
yes, we
That
are.
part.
You're going to have to unpack.
Unpack.
You're going to have to be
Unpack.
all the way honest about what you experience, what you feel, and who you become because of your pain. Right? Because when we unpack that and we have that mirror up to ourselves,
Yes.
you can't escape that.
Right.
Now I have to do something about this.
Yep, they tell you to pray it away and then wait. And
And
they'll
then
tell
what?
you faith without works. Is
That's
That
right.
part. They forget the works
You gotta
first.
do the work.
They forget the works
Right.
first.
The faith is good,
Yeah.
but we have to work for it.
Right.
We have to work for it.
It's a
We have
work.
to work for it. It's like the praise is wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right.
Lord, let me get my mind right. But then after that, what are you going for?
What are you doing? Right? So I wrote this book, right? So the book is called Oh My Gosh, I Overslept. This was the first time that I dug all the way into the Bible to realize that the Bible talks about mental health.
Come on.
Oh, yeah,
It
definitely.
does.
But we didn't learn that in church.
All day
Come
long.
on.
I didn't learn that in church. I didn't learn it in Bible school. I didn't learn it in church. I learned it because I was like, God, you have to have an answer for this.
Come on.
Right? You have to have an answer for
Yes.
this. This mental health thing can't just come from people that don't look like me telling me I'm the problem
Oh, gosh.
without telling me I'm the problem.
Without telling, yeah.
So I went to the scripture. Scripture says, right, God has given us the power, the spirit of love, right? Power and love and a sound mind, right? That's the scripture, right? For God has not given us the fear, but he's given us the spirit of love, power, sound mind. That sound mind part,
Come on.
that's the mental health piece. He cares about our minds. That was the first time I ever read that. I was like, oh, you actually care about what I think and feel?
Yep, he does, yeah. Yes, he does.
Oh, because I didn't get that in church. I didn't get that at all. But you care. Not only do you care,
God
but
cares.
apparently you want me to do something about this. Because see, God's not going to do for you what you can do for
For
yourself.
yourself. Come on, Miss
Oh.
Rita. Say it. That part.
Hello.
That.
You've been dragging around pain because you don't want to let it go.
You
'Cause
don't
it's
wanna let it
serving
go.
a purpose. Like that's trauma and a trauma response.
Trauma response.
You're responding to your trauma by creating more trauma, and
Oh,
chaos
my
is
God.
comfortable. That's what we got to talk about. How do you unpack that? Right?
Right.
Because you're not getting that rolling on the floor and under pews.
No, I
Like,
ain't getting
love
that.
it. What you get is an emotional high.
That's right. Little dopamine.
You get an emotional
Yeah.
high. I feel good in this moment, and then you go home and cry yourself to sleep. It's
Yeah.
the same thing as if you was on drugs. It's the same
Thank
thing
you.
as if you had sex with everybody. It's
Hello.
the same thing as if, right? It's the same thing.
Same thing.
So when I go into sessions, whether I'm Christian, clergy, or not, I'm like, okay, so how did this help you? You did all this stuff. You heard the preacher, but how did you apply it? Because see, that's the work part, right? You heard the therapist, but how did you apply what they said? It's the work part, right? Did you go home and practice telling yourself something different? Not lying to yourself,
Okay.
but encouraging yourself.
Okay.
It's also
Okay.
another Bible reference.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Encouraging.
Right?
Yeah.
We call that in our field what? Positive self-talk.
Positive self-talk.
Every principle comes from somewhere. I just want to point that out. So,
Yes. Take your time.
talk about what you believe, right? Everything you do is based on what you believe.
That's a fact.
Every single thing you do.
Wow.
If you are afraid or you got abandonment issues, you're going to act a certain way in relationship.
Yeah.
It's a mental health thing. It's a mental health thing. It's mental health all day.
Right. You may not even know where those
You
beliefs
don't
come
know,
from.
right?
Right.
Some of them aren't great. My favorite story to tell, I told it while I was preaching, I told it in my therapy room, is this. There was a mother who was cooking a meatloaf, right? And she just, she in the kitchen, she cooking, it's a family dinner, so she got grandmama there, she got her mama there, she got the kids there, and she's making this meatloaf, and she has this tin. And she said she was gonna use her grandmother's recipe. And grandma's sitting there, by the way. Grandma's not in the kitchen. She's just sitting in the house. Okay, so she preps it, she puts it in the oven, pulls it out, it's ready, smelling good. She cuts off the front end, she cuts off the back end. And when she cuts off the front and the back end, she serves it to her family. Before she does it, she says, Mom, come here for a minute. I got grandma's recipe, right? And she said to cut off the front end and cut off the back end, but you never told me why. She said, I don't know, ask your grandma. So she goes and she asks her grandmother. And when she asked her grandmother, she said, oh, honey. She said, the pan was too small.
Okay.
Nobody ever challenged the story. And we passed down trauma the same way.
Oh my God.
Nobody ever challenges why we don't talk about cousin so-and-so.
Oh my gosh.
We just don't talk about it. That's where we have to start to unpack.
My God.
That is actually where we have to go back. You got to go back generations for some of this stuff. Because some of you walking around with pain that don't belong to you.
It doesn't belong to you.
That part.
I'm
Go
saying,
into
yo.
legacy burden.
Right.
Okay, come on. Legacy burden. Not for
And when
you.
we don't address those issues, they address us.
Yes. And they don't just address us, they clothe us.
Right.
Because then you wear your pain. That's the part.
Let me start with you then, because unfortunately, we have run out of time. Again, our sincere, I know, right? That's how it goes. Like, I could really sit here for another hour. Like, I don't think the camera guy, you know, the camera guy, the husband. Yeah, there's 4 husbands in here. Oh my gosh, this was great. I got a free session. I got healed. I got convicted. I feel a little guilty. No, I'm just kidding. But this has been wonderful. Since we're talking about the camera guy, I would like to say a big thank you to J Heat Shade Pro of 716 Live. 716 Live can take care of all of your media woes. You go there, Dry Main Building, film your podcast, and it's a beautiful atmosphere. I'm going to go on ahead and ask you guys to, so much I could. So the last statement, I would probably ask you to tell the audience, and especially the young folks, how to begin, or encourage them to begin to unpack. And before you encourage them to begin to unpack, please, the ones that wrote a book, go on ahead and give us the title of your book and kind of reintroduce yourself for those that tuned in late. I looked over here.
What was that? Dr. Nicole Ferguson. My book is called Unstoppable Joy, The Art of Finding Hope, Healing, and Happiness. In that book, I discuss my struggles with depression and how I manage, how I cope, how I've gotten to where I am today, and how you can be of help. I don't call it a self-help book, I call it a help yourself book. Because you know that, we can get all the self-help we need, but like we gotta really dig deep, like we said, address the issues. I would say for those who are, the book's under Nicole Robinson.
Nicole
That's my maiden
Robinson.
name. Ferguson's my husband name.
Can't really share no royalty. No,
He's in the audience, have to support. So, yes. But the question of how do we start to unpack, first the question is asking ourselves why. Why are we doing what we're doing? And is it serving us? And do you want to do something different? That is pretty much the point that I got to in my life, and that is the part that I try to work with clients on. Part of that is through therapy if it's needed. Part of that is just through very deep introspection, and that's kind of what therapy brings for people to start like that healing process. Like we said, once that spark of change occurs, you probably won't be able to recognize yourself in the mirror afterwards, because like the change starts from within.
Yes.
But once it starts, it's a catalyst. And even for young people, I would say like that you're validated, you're loved, There are so many options, so many resources. I want people to show up as their authentic, true selves, their best selves. So that is pretty much why I do the empowerment work that I do. But to show up, to start that process is courageous within itself.
It is.
And from there, sky's the limit.
Thank you so much.
Again, I am Elder Rita Anderson Bailey. My book is called Oh My Gosh, I Overslept, A Guide to Living Life on Time. In that book, you'll find exactly what I was talking about. It challenges the reader to really dig deep and to think about what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're investing their time, right? And so I want you to take that journey as you heal. And so that book is found on Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com. And you can actually find it on our website as well, which is RenovatedSoulMFT.com, where I am the owner and the operator of Renovated Soul Marriage and Family Therapy, PLLC. What I would say, honestly, is that you cannot be afraid to do the work.
All right.
Challenge yourself to do it differently than what you've seen in your family, what you may have seen in your neighborhood, what you may have seen even in your church home, if you have a church home, right? Don't be afraid to be the one that's different, right? Because you can bring healing to the next generation when you stand in your own truth and when you are not afraid to dig deep. That is what I would say. And know that you are valid, not just your story, but you.
Okay. I'm Mariah Robinson. What I would say is stand in the mirror. You gotta face yourself. And ask the question, am I my best self yet? And also asking the additional question, are the behaviors and patterns that I'm displaying now, what purpose is that serving me?
Wow.
Is it going to serve me for the life I'm living now or the life I want to live?
Thank you so much.
That's it. My name is Virronica Dixson. The book that I have is Single Ladies Meet Your Married Selves. So what I do is take a little in-step about who you have to be as knowing yourself as an individual before you could become one with anybody else. And interesting enough, I wrote that book before I even started therapy, started the degree, though my bachelor's was in psychology. And as I reread it for whatever reason, and I was like, man, this has a lot of the same things. So it still comes from a mental health perspective because you have to know who you are first before you can know the value that you add to someone else. So that book can be found on Amazon, Single Ladies Meet Your Married Selves. The one thing that I would encourage anyone, but especially younger people, is to know that you are unique. You were created as one individual. There is nobody on this earth, has never been, will never be like you. So I encourage you to make sure that you are who you desire to be because the world needs you.
Yeah.
The world needs you. And just like Sarah Jakes Roberts said, by doing the healing, you are walking into the authentic version of yourself. And it's through that authenticity that you're able to touch who you were supposed to touch, who you're supposed to heal, whoever you're supposed to heal. And the world needs you. And before the world can need you, we need you to be your whole self.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you so much. This is great.
Wow. Thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in with us. My prayer is, our prayer is that there is something with this hour and what, 20 minutes? That, my bad again. I'm dealing with feelings of guilt for being late. I just pray that there's something in this session that really helps you to begin to do the healing. Just us sitting here today together, our community, are putting our beautiful blackness together. It's for me, it means a lot. It's you know why it's a bit more different for me. It's just different for me, and I'm so appreciative that you chose to spend your Monday night with me.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the
Any other way?
And we'll do it again.
I would hope. Are you sure about that? Because I'll hold you to it.
Absolutely.
There's pizza. I got you pizza. Hey, I'm just saying.
We want to have this conversation over.
I would love to. Beautiful. I hope that all your books sell out. I definitely can't end the show without saying a little something to the angel in my life.
Come on, Angel.
I just want to say to the guy in the blue shirt that I love you so deeply and happy 9-year anniversary. Thank you so much. We're going to zoom out. Camera guy's going to click off so that I can now dance. Okay. Have a great, blessed week. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Oh, no. Excuse me. My bad. See, I addressed the situation.
Immediately.
My mistake. And I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to let Linda go on ahead and have the last word.
Okay, so
Linda.
the last word is this. Yep, we have to explore our history, that we may know ourselves as divine individuals created by a God that meant for us to have abundance, prosperity, peace, and love in our lives. Kudos to 716 and to Black Buffalonians and allies. I am honored, and it's a privilege for me to have been a part of this.
I'm so glad
You ladies are phenomenal.
Yeah, they are.
Keep giving that gift of healing. We appreciate it. And peace and love. Good night.
All right.